All right, this is Mitch Goldblatt. I'm going to call the regular meeting of the Orange Recycling Committee to order. It is 7:08 p.m. On June 17th. We have a quorum present. Some of you may not, we're broadcasting via Zoom. With us tonight are Mark and Eileen Moyer.
Questions such as particularly what is allowed in the town recycling. Some places in the country recycle this type of material. It's a foam composite, and it's mostly plastics. I don't know exactly what the composition is. I'm not sure if our town recycles that. And the other question has to do with mesh bags. A lot of the mesh bags for citrus, etc., is made out of plastic. So it's hard this time, especially right now, to find a manager in a grocery store that accepts the plastic bags. And they really are not sure whether their recycling company that they use for the plastic bags does indeed or does not accept this kind of mesh bag.
Okay.
Anybody have any information on that?
The first question, I'm almost positive the foam composite is not recyclable in the state of Connecticut by anybody. The mesh bags might be recyclable as part of our plastic bags, but Eileen, are you there? You know?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi.
Hi. Do you know if the mesh bags are recyclable as part of the plastic bag program or not? I'm
I
not
think so.
sure.
I don't know offhand, but I could check on CT Recycles.
Yeah, we'll check
right
that
now.
out for you, Susan. I'm not really sure. I don't think so, but we'll check it out.
Because a lot of them they are made out of plastic. So a lot of communities, especially on the West Coast, do accept them in their plastic recycling. Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Certain states and certain recycling companies have certain things they'll accept and things they won't. But
Exactly.
yeah, I'm not sure about the mesh, but we can look into that. Eileen will look into it.
So let me just show the screen here momentarily.
Sure.
So do you see the screen?
I see it.
That's the website, and you can see right there on the left, you can type in what it is that you're looking for, and it tells you
Right.
if it's recyclable or trash. So
I have gone there before.
Oh, okay.
Because certain things are particular. It's not, they can't have.
Yeah, they don't have mesh here, but I can request adding it as a new item.
Yeah,
I think it's the same kind of plastic as the film and the other types of grocery bags like the Target bags.
Maybe
I'll look into it.
10% of them are plastics, and there are probably other materials made by some companies, and that's the problem. And they're not identified,
Right.
anywhere on the tag.
Right. Well, we'll look at it. Eileen will look into it, and we'll find out for you and report back.
Sure.
Thank you, Susan. Anybody else for public comment? If not, we have review and approve the minutes of May 20th, our last meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? And if so, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, I got a motion by Wendy to approve the minutes as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Amy will second. Okay, so motion by Wendy, seconded by Amy. There's no further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? If not, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next up is the treasurer's report. Mark, you want to give us a report?
Yes, we're sitting on $1,392.48. That's our current balance. I know that we've been appropriated for the 2020-2021 budget $1,700, but I don't expect to see that in the account for another month or two.
Right.
Just, I don't know when the exact payout date will be.
Okay. Any questions for Mark? Okay.
Nice job, Mark.
So Mitch, we have nothing pending at the moment. I mean, I know that we were talking about doing the seeds, those bookmarks for upcoming events, but I know that a lot of things have been canceled. So I don't know if we're still going to go with that order or not.
We will go with that order. Well, two things. One is we need a design, which I think Amy was working on, but we haven't had a design put forward yet. But we've got no events until
Right, so
until October at this point.
Okay.
So should we be just not worrying about the design for right now and
Well-
do that, when we move towards the fall, or?
Amy, if you can work on a design, it'd be great if we can
Yeah,
get them
sure.
ahead of time and not have to worry about, we've got the money to pay for them. We expect
Okay.
to be passing them out at the shredding day in October, presuming we're able to go forward with that. The fair has been postponed for this year, so
Yeah.
that's not gonna happen. We may order less, we may just order for the next year. We'll see how long they last. But yeah, if we can get a design and get that to the vendor, we can get those ordered and ready to go, so we don't have to do it at last minute. So if you could do that, that'd be great.
Okay, yeah, I'll send you an email tomorrow.
Thanks, Amy, that'd be great. Thanks,
No
Mark.
problem.
Any other questions for Mark?
Hey, let me just ask Amy something. Amy, do you have the high resolution version of the logo to use for the art?
I'm not sure.
You have it,
I'll just send it.
Well,
just
Eileen
to
can
be
send
sure.
it anyway.
Yeah, you can send it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Eileen. Okay. Just so you guys know, we lost Amy's picture, Susan's picture, just so you guys know.
Okay.
There's only 3 of us on video right now. Or 4 if you count Eileen. So next up is the updated residential recycling. This past month, which was the month of May, we actually had the first dip, well, actually the second dip, but dip this year. We had 80.87 tons of recycling this year versus 88.51 a year ago. So it's down 8.6% in the month of May. We're still up 3.1% from January through May.
It's all those graduation parties that got postponed.
It could very well be. Could very well be. So hopefully it'll pick up again in June. We'll find out. So that's it for that. Old business. So we have some significant, if you will, old business, which is the simple recycling proposal for textile recycling at the transfer station. Let me give you an update on that. We received the proposal last month. This committee had voted unanimously to go forward with the proposal to the Board of Selectmen. I gave the proposal to the Board of Selectmen, asked it to be added to the last agenda, and it was. And when we got to the meeting via Zoom, there were some significant concerns about this program, and let me try to give you a synopsis of them. Number one was the concern about simple recycling being unknown to the town, even though they had been collecting the pink bags for some time. There was some concern about some spottiness of the pickups at people's homes. Although this would not be a pickup at people's homes, it would just be bringing all the pink bag material to the transfer station. There was concern about Goodwill being a taxpayer in the town, having a business in town for some time, and also the fact that we've had business with Goodwill for a very long time. There was concern about whether there was any contract with Goodwill, which I am not aware of any contract with Goodwill. So it's kind of like a month-to-month thing, which has been month-to-month for many years. So what it led to was the votes did not seem to be there to pass this that night. So the motion was made to table the issue to get more answers from Simple Recycling. And so we voted to table it. And I've received some questions from two of the selectmen to go back to Sonny Wilkins at Simple Recycling about this. He was quite surprised because the basic thing here is that Simple Recycling will take pretty much everything that Goodwill is taking now, plus all those textiles that you would not give to Goodwill. The broken things, the stained things, the ripped things, as well as the good things, and worn out. And so I've received some questions. I've had discussion with Sonny about this since the last meeting. He is willing to go on Zoom with us at the next Board of Selectmen meeting if necessary, to answer questions himself. And we also, are looking at answering the other questions that have been raised about what happens to materials that aren't accepted, who's making the decision, et cetera, et cetera. I have spoken to the transfer station supervisor, who, it was his words, it's a no-brainer. Sylvie in the Public Works Department thought it'd be great because they've had frustrations with Goodwill, not recently, but they had in the past, getting things picked up. And the bottom line is Goodwill, at least to this point, is paying the town nothing to, it's simply a donation from townspeople to Goodwill, just as you would if you brought it to Goodwill. Simple Recycling will pay the town $60 a ton for whatever they take, and we'll take more. So it seemed like an easy thing, but it wasn't. So not everything moves so quickly in government. So we're going to get those questions answered. In the meantime, most of you saw an email from Ken Lenz, who watched the Board of Selectmen meeting live, was somewhat dismayed by the decision by the board not to go forward with this. As of today, he's turned his email to the board into a letter to the editor, to local newspapers. We'll see if it gets printed. I've had other people come to me as a kind of a not really a quite the right term, have written to me or called me with their surprise and concern, and I've urged them to just reach out to the Board of Selectmen with an email with their thoughts and hopefully their support for what this committee has supported going forward. So we've been delayed by a month, maybe more, maybe it won't happen. That's kind of where it's at, and I'm very hopeful that we can convince the other members of the Board of Selectmen that this is something to go forward with. At the time, there were obviously 2 votes, myself and Margaret Novicki, who were definitely in favor of going forward with this. The other 4 were very non-committal and did not seem to be in favor of it that evening without getting certain questions answered. So I leave it to you guys for any suggestions or ideas you have. Keep in mind that we are being broadcast on OGAT right now. So.
Well, I think the best thing is what you said, that Sonny's willing to come on to the next Board of Selectmen meeting to possibly answer any questions should he be needed.
Yeah, and I'm going to be contacting him once I get. I've had questions from 2 of the selectmen, and they're reasonable questions. Just trying to get assurances about what Simple Recycling will do. There was a concern about a 3-year contract, what that meant. And the reason for that is because Simple Recycling wants to make an investment in a container. And if they're gonna make an investment in a container, they certainly don't want to have it pulled out in a month or 2 or even a year. Look, if they break the contract, obviously we'll have provisions when the town attorney gets down to it. We'll have provisions to take care of that potential situation, which I would hope wouldn't happen. So we'll see. I'll pass those questions along to Sonny. We'll get answers back ahead of time to the Board of Selectmen. In the meantime, Jim Zioli was going to reach out to Goodwill with some of the concerns that were raised as well. So we'll see what Goodwill's response is as well. One thing I can tell you that will almost assuredly not happen is to have 2 trailers at the transfer station, one for Goodwill, one for Simply Recycling, because there's two reasons. One is there's really not room for a side-by-side trailer up at the top of the transfer station. The second reason is because Simple Recycling has said, listen, if we're going to make this kind of investment, we need to be an exclusive. And I understand that, and I think Goodwill would want the same thing. So that's where we're at. If there are any other questions, concerns?
I think Ken had a great letter, and that made so much sense.
Yeah, I think he did.
I mean, gee whiz, it seems like a no-brainer, but I guess in politics, nothing is.
This is true.
Well,
But if any of you have any other ideas, any other people that reach out to you that say they're in support of this or have suggestions, I encourage them to reach out to the Board of Selectmen about it, especially at this time, since public comment is very difficult when we're doing things via Zoom and the whole problem with Zoom bombing and those things. If people will actually sit down and it can be very short, send an email to the selectmen with either comments, pro, con, or suggestions on how to make this happen, which I really think would be great, because there's so many things that I would not, worn out sheets and blankets and towels that I would not even think to give to Goodwill, that Simply Recycling has a market for and will reward the town with it. So in addition to all the other things, the art and wall decor, the small toys, the DVDs and other things, silverware, pots and pans, backpacks, bicycles.
Mitch, I have a question.
Yes, Wendy.
So that list that you're rattling off, is that accessible to people? Like, I don't think I realized all that stuff.
Yeah, that's in
that
the
would be-
letter. The letter that I sent to all of you, that was Simple Recycling's proposal. You should have that with this agenda.
Yeah.
The
Okay,
list
but I
doesn't
mean the
have-
public. I mean,
It's-
is that printed anywhere where people can?
Well, it's printed just in the proposal that's gone to the Board of Select, which you have, and it's also been given to the Board of Selectmen. In fact, that proposal was expanded, because the original proposal was just talking about, making sure we knew they would take all the textiles. And Sylvie Napoli and I had a long discussion about what does Goodwill take, and I went back to Sonny Wilkins, and like 9 out of 10 items,
Right.
they would take as well. So I talked to Sonny and said, you need to put that in writing, and he did, and he made some changes to the letter. And the letter that he submitted as part of his proposal to the Board of Selectmen, you all have a copy of. If anybody needs a copy, I'd be glad to distribute that as well.
Mitch, may
Yeah,
I
Loretta.
say something?
Yeah,
Yes.
Loretta Smith.
I read Ken's letter with very, very great interest. And one thing that totally shocked me about it was that if Goodwill doesn't want stuff, or if they don't bother to empty their container, they dump it into our hopper. So they pay us nothing, and yet we have to pay to take their stuff out.
That's correct. Although in fairness, it's material that maybe should have been put in the hopper in the first place by our residents. But it's true. I think that, and I've talked to the people at the transfer station, and they've estimated that about 20% of what goes into that trailer never makes it to Goodwill.
Okay.
And quite frankly, some of it probably shouldn't. People do, like, they feel good about submitting or donating a broken dish or a table with a leg missing, and quite frankly, those things should be thrown out. And Simple Recycling would do the same. But I think the difference is that Simple Recycling will take more of the things that Goodwill will not accept, especially in the textile industry portion of this, as well as those other things. What they won't take are some of the same things that Goodwill will not take, which is furniture, bicycles. Those are things bicycles they will take. Furniture, the large items that they will take if you bring it to the store. And that was the whole other argument we had. Argument's the wrong word. Discussion. We had that Goodwill has 2 stores within 2 miles of our transfer station. One in Orange, one in Milford. And that if people feel an affinity to Goodwill, they certainly can bring things to Goodwill at their store. And I encourage people to do that, because the main thing is that things do not go into our hopper that can be in some way recycled. And so whether it's brought to simple recycling or Goodwill, in this way, I think we have the best of both worlds with Goodwill right down the street. So
Mhm.
Mitch, is there
Very
any
good.
way we can have people in the town have like a vote on this, like on a
no,
website?
it really, it's a
Memo?
decision, Pat, it's a decision of the Board of Selectmen, as the legislative body of the town to enter into any kind of contracts. The best we can do on that is, like I said, if there's people that feel strongly one way or the other, to send an email or a letter, or a phone call to members of the Board of Selectmen. If you send it to me, I'll make sure it gets to the other members, but I think it's most effective if an email like Ken did was sent to the entire board. No matter what the feelings are. I mean, maybe we're missing something, but I feel pretty strongly that this is a really terrific program for our town and would be a benchmark for other towns to follow.
Mitch, quick question.
Yeah, Chris.
Yeah, thanks. Interesting, this conversation, and two things. One, I was curious if that contract, I wasn't clear. Was that contract something we are asking Simple Recycling, or they are proposing a 3-year contract? Because that was one of my questions. Like, are they long-term, or are they kind of not sure if they're going to, kind of pull out? So if you could clarify that. But the other thought I had was, when I was doing my kind of research a couple of years ago for the committee regarding the single stream and the layouts at various transfer stations, that's one thing that struck me of how many transfer stations have Goodwill. So clearly that's part of their business plan, and they seem to have the monopoly on that. And I'm curious how this will play out now for us, because somehow they're in everywhere, most transfer stations, which is ideal. And if they're not paying anything, what gives them that authority to be in every transfer station? So this will be interesting how this plays out, but it does appear to be a no-brainer, and we'll see how folks lean after they get all their questions answered. But I was curious if you could just clarify that 3-year contract.
Sure.
Who's offering that?
The 3-year was being offered by Simple Recycling as their proposal. I made it clear to them that if they were to take over the transfer station, they would need to provide a clean new trailer, or a container, 40-yard container to the transfer station enclosed, similar, if not the same as what Goodwill has currently. And part of it is their commitment is to purchase such a trailer, and to make a commitment to the town. They want to see it as a go. And so they're looking for a 3-year, commitment from the town. And after 3 years, we'll reevaluate it. 3 years goes pretty quickly in this. Most of our contracts with our haulers down at the train station are either 3 to 5 years also. Goodwill, because there's really no money being exchanged, Goodwill basically has been allowed to put the trailer container up at the transfer station now, simply because they're willing to. And quite frankly, it's been great, because once again, everything that goes in that trailer and gets taken away by Goodwill does not end up in our transfer station, or people would have to take it themselves somewhere else, whether it's Goodwill, Salvation Army, wherever. There's a lot of places that do accept used items. So did that answer your questions there, Chris? I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Anything else on that? All right. If not, we'll move on to our other big topic, which is the shed recycling, the shed replacement, the transfer station for the bag and wrap recycling. Interesting enough, this has become very frustrating. Chris Prokop has approached the manager of Home Depot on a number of occasions. And I guess one of the, as they say, the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back was an email I got this past week from a resident, very frustrated that there's no recycling of the bags and wrap at the transfer station, and want to know who's responsible for this. So I wrote back to him and said, we're responsible, I'm responsible, but explained the entire situation. And then also took his email and forwarded it to Matt Hyatt, the manager of the local Home Depot, with my comments that we need to have an answer, and I got a meeting tonight. And so I hadn't heard anything till about literally less than 2 hours ago. Matt called me, very apologetic, and as you might assume, or if you already know, Home Depot has been putting their resources most recently towards places that need their help the most, places that need shelter, and then issues that have been going on with COVID that they've been helping to address. However, that did not, and he made this very plain to me, did not cancel their community outreach program, which is what we would be under here. So in an effort to make this more appeasing to us and to try and get something done, I'm telling you this on the air right now. So he committed to me tonight that in the next 2 weeks, they would put up a temporary shelter, one similar to the one we had, a plastic snap together shelter that we could use. And hopefully, because we're in a better weather month as opposed to the other weather months, it'll last longer. And then hopefully by August, have us with a permanent shelter as they've promised. And he, verbally committed to me to promise that this would happen. So I'm going to hold him to it. Chris, we're going to hold him to it. And hopefully we'll have that shelter, temporary one, up in the next several weeks. And we'll be able to start recycling plastic bags and wrap at the transfer station. I understand Home Depot itself does not have it no longer has plastic bags and wrap accepted. They do still accept batteries and fluorescent bulbs, but they don't have the plastic bag and wrap accepted at their store at the moment, at least in Orange. So we're hopeful, and that's where we lie at the very minute. He was concerned because my email to him said, I've got a meeting Wednesday night. I need to know where Home Depot stands. So he's made it clear that they do want to go forward with this. He's apologetic, but obviously the COVID-19 really put a crimp in their efforts.
I won't publicize it on Facebook and the website yet because
Not yet, but
we don't want to have
Well, I think
yet another protest situation.
yeah.
Although I wish
It's
you'd
been
fire
a
everyone.
difficult.
Chris, I'm sorry you
I must
broke
say-
up. Chris?
Yeah, sorry. I'm just going to add thank you, Mitch, for your efforts in the last, 48 hours. And it's been clearly frustrating. It started 2 days before Christmas. We've been talking about it. I think many residents now know that they have at least expressed interest, Home Depot. And yes, I know winter is a hard time to build things, and then COVID hit, but it's been hard to know. And I understand Matt's in a tough spot, but it's just something we got to keep pushing until we at least know some time frame, what to expect. Because you're right, people are starting to think we're crazy here, and clearly it does sound like we'll get something temporary, which is ideal in order to move towards something permanent once they have the resources and the time. I know they're busy. They have people in their store every minute they're open, so
Yep.
It's a busy place to, and they're committed to installing this, which is awesome. But so it's just an amazing, difficult time, but it's put us all in a kind of an awkward place. So thanks for helping just move it a little further down to the finish line here.
Well, thanks, Chris, but you've been bird dogging this since the beginning, and I appreciate your efforts to continuously apply pressure and make sure things happen here. So thank you for your help as well, and the committee for their
Absolutely.
patience. So
Absolutely.
I'm so hopeful by the next time that we meet, there is a shed of some sort at that transfer station, and we are collecting bags and wrap. And Pat Legault, I know your garage and my garage are filling up with plastic bags. They've become even more plentiful since the pandemic, because the stores have been giving
That's
out
right.
plastic bags again. So it's they're out there more than before. So we're getting there.
May I ask a question, Loretta?
Yes, Loretta.
So I had written an article, but I don't know how I could write it and not submit it. So I really feel badly about it. So you didn't see anything in the last paper, but I had said that I explained the situation, and I think it was Wendy who told us that we could go to Big Y and recycle our plastic bags, which we have been doing. Do you know, are there other places that also are open now? I don't go around much anymore.
ShopRite also.
Loretta, are you on Facebook?
My what?
Facebook.
I don't do fake. I'm there, but I don't know how to use it.
Oh, okay. Because we share on our
Sorry.
page, and then some people who are our followers have been chiming in with some locations.
Oh, have they?
Yeah,
Oh.
I know that Lowe's is. I saw them at Lowe's myself the other day.
Oh, down in Derby?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe Kohl's does as well.
Kohl's and I think Target too.
Yeah.
Target on the post
They're
road
back.
didn't have the bins out the other day.
I'm
Oh,
sorry,
okay.
Eileen, what was that?
Target on the post road did not have the bins out the other day when
Okay.
I was there. They only had a
Okay,
trash
there-
bin out.
Okay.
Okay, but not the recycled. Okay. So do you want me to still submit that article? He may print it this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. But you don't want to say anything about, I just said that the Orange Recycling Committee is determined that it will be replaced. Thank you
Yes.
for recycling.
We are
Yes?
determined.
Okay, good. Okay, very good.
Very good. Thank you, Loretta. Thank you for continuing to provide the publicity for the newspapers. I appreciate it. Next up is our tour of the Oak Ridge Recycling Plant, which is still on hold. Maybe next month we can discuss this further, as the governor has been, making it a bit easier for people to gather. And we'll see whether that makes more sense next month. I still think we're still a bit away from being able to have a field trip to the recycling plant, which we'd all like to see. So next up is Has Waste Day, June 27th. So the good news, maybe this is good news for everyone. The good news is Has Waste Central is open at Long Wharf. So if anybody wants to bring hazardous waste down to Long Wharf on any Saturday morning except for holiday weekends from 9 a.m. till noon, they're welcome to do so. Our date of June 27th, of which we were supposed to be covering, has been canceled because they're temporarily suspending the volunteers due to the COVID-19 situation. They are using Has Waste personnel to actually direct the traffic that we would do and collect the questionnaires that we would do. They are almost insisting, and I make this clear to people here and on OGAT right now, that if you use Has Waste Central, you should go online first to pre-fill out the form and have it ready when you get there, as opposed to being handed the form and filling it out in your car. They want those forms filled out ahead of time, so there's less interaction between personnel and the customer bringing the residential has waste to Long Wharf at the Regional Water Authority, which is where the Has Waste Central is located. On the other hand, we are still on for the October 17th, October 3rd date. So those of you who have signed up for October 3rd, that date is still on. They're anticipating that somewhere in the mid-summer time period, we'll be going back to the volunteers. Once again, this is all subject to change based on the latest news on COVID-19. But for right now, they are open and they don't need our help. So those of us who are on the hook for June 27th to help out, which is always a good time, actually, we're off the hook. They don't want us. They want to use just the Clean Harbors personnel. But any resident can go any weekend, 9 to noon on a Saturday. That's the update on that. Shredding Day, we're still on for right now. I've been getting call after call about this, as is Town Hall. There's a lot of pent up frustration on this one too. People are cleaning up and they want to shred their
Yeah.
documents. And I'm expecting, if the weather's good, especially, that October 17th, we will have a lot of people there for shredding day. I've announced it a number of times. It's been in the paper on Orange CT Live. And as we get closer to October, which is certainly a ways away still, we'll put forth more information. And as you know, the Lions Club will be collecting the mattresses. Bye Bye Mattress is on board. And as of right now, the Orange Community Women are on board for collecting household goods and clothing as well that day. So that's where we're at. Is there any other old business that I may have missed? If
Nope.
not, is there any new business anyone wants to bring up?
This isn't business, but I just have a comment about those plastic bags.
Yep.
So just so you know, today I purchased something and the woman started to put it in a plastic bag and I said, "Oh no, that's okay. I don't want the bag. I'll just take it." And she said, "Oh, okay, no problem." And then she took the bag and put it in the garbage. And I'm like,
Oh,
"Wait,
God.
it's like you can't." I said, I mean, it was hardly even off the rack of the plastic bags, and I said, "You can't reuse that." And she said, "No, because I had touched my item and the item was in the bag for 1 second and came out." She said, "Because you touched it, we have to throw it out." I said, "Okay, just give me the bag. Instead of throwing it out, I'll put it to use." But just so if you're trying to cut down on plastic, just keep your eye on, because they're quick. They throw them in plastic
Yep, they
really
do.
fast.
Right.
So, yeah.
I don't know the exact date. I think it's July 1st though. The last I heard, there was a definite sunset of that free plastic bag business, and that the governor had said, I think July 1st, don't hold me to this, but there is a date whereby they will no longer, we're going back to the law, no longer
good.
giving out plastic bags. You
Oh,
must
good.
bring your own bags and go forward with that, or purchase a reusable bag.
Are they allowing your own cloth bags now? Because for a while, some places like Traders wouldn't let you bring in your own
Right.
bag. your own
I've
Yeah, I
used
was-
bags everywhere, and except it's not allowed at Trader Joe's. That's the only store I've found that would not let me pack my own groceries in my own bags. But that being said, most of our stores do.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
Susan, I think you're right. My family had a similar experience at Trader Joe's when I said, make sure you get a bag. And my daughter came back and said, they wouldn't let me use the bag, Dad. I swear, I tried.
Yeah, you're right. She's right.
But at the other stores, I know ShopRite, I've been using my bags
Yeah.
consistently.
Yeah.
At least the reusable ones. And we've been washing them too.
Good.
Good.
So,
Mitch, I have a question.
yes, Patrick.
Have you heard anything lately about when we're going to be able to return like the 5-cent deposit cans at all? Have you heard that?
They're open.
Oh, they are.
They
Okay.
are back open. I will tell you this though, at least what I've noticed at ShopRite, they're only allowing I don't know if it's one or two people in the bottle room at a time, and the line has been longer than getting into ShopRite or anywhere else. It's been
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Okay.
recycling cans. I ended up taking a bunch to Costco myself, but it's a difficult situation because of the limits. And once again, people who collect cans and bottles have quite a collection.
Mhm.
So it takes even longer, but hopefully that too will start to catch up. But
Okay.
yeah,
Thank you.
that is back. That went back, I believe, in the first phase,
Okay.
the May
A
17th.
few weeks ago. A
Thanks.
few weeks ago.
Yeah.
May I make a comment, Mitch?
Yes, Loretta.
Yes, I've been to ShopRite 3 or 4 times already for redeeming bottles, and they are allowed 2 people in that tiny room, and they are spaced at the beginning and way at the end, so there's definitely 6 feet apart. And you're only allowed to redeem $7.50 worth. There's a guy who's watching, and if you hit that limit or go over, you have to stop, and then you have to go outside and go to the back of the line so other people can go. So it's a little you know, if you got a lot, it's frustrating, but it's only fair. You shouldn't, those people who come in with, God, bags up to the ceiling, it's
Yeah.
not fair that they sit in there for hours recycling. So they are open. Also, there's the Redemption Center in West Haven. I stopped there because there are items that ShopRite would not take, and I had, and that place is a mob. I'm not sure I would recommend going there because there are 20 million people and they're all standing 2-3 feet apart and blah, blah, blah. So stay away from there for a while.
Okay. Well, thank you, Loretta. I appreciate that.
Sure.
Yeah, when I got frustrated not being able to go to ShopRite, I actually just tried Costco and it was early in the morning and it actually worked. The problem was that one of the containers, the container recycling was not working. So
Ah,
able to recycle the glass and the plastic and came home with all the cans.
plastic.
So
Right. So, well, one more comment then. I forgot this. You probably went on a weekend.
I
and
did.
That's terrible. I have gone like on a Monday or Wednesday or something in the middle of the day between 12 and 2. It's very light traffic at that time. So take off your lunch, take a long lunch, drive back up to Orange.
I was about to say, Loretta, it's wonderful to be retired, isn't it?
Yeah.
Loretta, I'm gonna offer you $5 or $10 to take mine, okay, on a noon on Wednesday.
Sure, I'll take them. I give them to a school in Africa. I give the money.
There you
that
go.
Phil and I support.
Good for you. Is
Yeah.
there any other new business? If not, our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, July 15th. And if not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Moved by Loretta, is there a second?
I'll
I'll
second.
second.
Second, I think Chris.
Chris, yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, we are adjourned at 7:50. I appreciate everyone's attendance and we'll see you next month, if not before. And if we can do it next month in person, we will. But at this point, that's not quite possible, but I'll keep you posted.
All right, thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.